Preservation really is key, and also I'd say some restoration, which is where the repairs come in. This is 1840s original construction, much of it, and it has not had significant investment in the past. It's had some, and this was a really great opportunity with some funding that we got to really put some work into that masonry work that has deteriorated over time because it's from 1840s.
Josh Smizer, TNT Tuck Pointing and Building Restoration. We're out of Stockton, Iowa, over there by the Quad Cities, Iowa-Illinois border. I'm the owner of the company, second generation. Been running things since 2009 after my father had gotten sick, so still keeping it family run and growing from there.
My name's Deetra Detman, and I'm a district supervisor for the Parks, Forests, and Preserves Bureau in Northeast Iowa for the Iowa DNR. And my role with this project here at Fort Atkinson is one of several areas in my regional territory. And my role as the district supervisor is really to kind of be a liaison between the local staff and the project and Des Moines, and working along with our engineering team and so forth to make sure things go really smoothly. We had kind of a two-phased process. So the first phase was hiring a historic architecture consultant, and they were charged with doing really conditions assessment of the existing buildings, and then also to identify the highest priority projects that needed to be addressed to protect the buildings into the future, and then also to provide kind of that technical piece with how, so to create the construction drawings and so forth. And then from there, it was really just how far the budget would stretch at that point.
So we started out with a great team. We've got a great designer and we got a great owner. Then it was our part to come in a low bid environment, which is tough. We put together our best team that we could, or a best game plan that we could for the bid. And luckily we were successful.
So it was pretty noticeable before the project started where we had some very large cracks. Actually, the one building, we had two walls were kind of falling off of the building, and so those were reconstructed and put back in place. And so it's much more stabilized, and it also, because of the work and the excellent contractors we've had, it looks right. It doesn't look, it was put together in the spirit and in the manner of which it was constructed and repaired that way. So we think that will continue to offer kind of an authentic experience, the best that we can, given the age of the buildings and the conditions they've endured over the years.
Yeah, so as far as masonry repairs, we've got a little bit of different things going on in these different buildings. On the blockhouse over there, on the northeast blockhouse, I believe it was, the unique thing there is that we rebuilt 30-inch thick sections of masonry wall. So that was a first for us, doing it in such a large scale manner. So we had to identify the stone as we demoed them. We had to mark them all, take photographic evidence of each one. We built racks to store them, kind of built redundancies in there. So we would write on the stone and we would write on the shelving. So that way we could rebuild it with the same manner. The barracks behind us, there's a bunch of little miscellaneous stuff. We're adding some supplemental steel below the door heads. So it's meant to look like it's still the stone that is carrying the opening for the door, but really there's some supplemental steel inside there that's galvanized and gonna shore those up. We also did these sock anchors we bought from Proseco, very unique specialized product. We did do some stitch ties, some other Proseco products, miscellaneous tuck pointing. We also tuck pointed some old block on the building, which is not historic, obviously, but at some point it was added, so it needed repairs, some water repellents. Over on the other blockhouse, they had a stone floor, and we tuck pointed all the masonry joints there, reset some stone. We had to do below grade drainage, so we went in with our excavator, dug next to the building, put in a drainage system there and re-rocked it.
Being with a state agency, and then this is funding, the largest funding was through the National Park Service. And so you've got a lot of things to be cognizant of and steps to complete to really make sure you're doing things as appropriately as possible with the technology and the knowledge we have today for historic preservation. I think that just shows kind of the extent of the care that's taken. A lot of times we think about repairing a regular building maybe in our backyard, and you would just grab some other materials, slap it on, and go from there. But this is a very different kind of project that way.
I would say historic projects like this or many others that we do just involve a little bit of a different mindset. So For me, there's so much more planning that goes into it because we want to get it right. You don't want to cause a disturbance to the buildings, the public, the owners, and everybody. It's all about confidence. You want your customers to be confident in your approach. You want the public to feel confident that they're getting good repairs. So it all starts from having a good design team and the ownership team. They set up the initial plan. We got to execute on it and then hopefully improve even. So some of the things on this one, since this was, an old historic fort and there had been battles fought here and all that kind of stuff, the plans already called out where we could and couldn't drive our equipment. So some things that are a little bit unique. So they called out certain areas where we had to have different protections when we brought in our lifts. And then we would just think about what equipment do we want to bring. So we brought in far less equipment than what we normally would. Other things you got to plan for on a historic masonry restoration job is really, thinking through the mortar, making sure the composition is right. And there you got to work with the design team, where samples get taken and you match, the original mortar. Another thing that really comes into that is not just the composition, but really it's the eye of the finishing techniques. And so that's really where, me and Jason, the foreman on the project, we really take a lot of pride in that, is getting a good match. To have a good, successful historic restoration, you need owners with the right mindset that are willing to spend the money to do it the right way. You need a design team that understands historic restorations. And you need a contractor that lives and breathes this stuff every day and is gonna value what the output of the product is just as much as the general public or the owners, that what we're all looking for. So we need partners and craftspeople that really care.
So the property is open year round and we've got signage, so we call that passive interpretation. People can come in and read the signs and kind of self-educate. We also have a very active friends group here in Fort Atkinson that has put on the annual rendezvous the last full weekend in September for, I think, 48 years. I know they're looking at their 50th anniversary coming up. And so that is real great opportunity for folks to come out and engage with the property in that setting and through those events. And longer term, if that should discontinue for some reason, we will certainly keep doing interpretation here through some updated signage and so forth to make sure the story we're telling is current and relevant, and help create an enjoyable experience for the visitors that come here.